You're standing in a crowded train station. Hundreds of people around you. Footsteps, announcements, phones buzzing. And yet, somehow, you've never felt more alone. Sound familiar? Here's the strange part. Loneliness isn't about how many people are around you. Scientists have found that you can feel completely isolated in a room full of 1,000 strangers and completely connected, sitting alone with just one person who gets you. So what's actually going on? Why does your brain do this to you? To answer that, we're not going to start in the present. We're going to go back, way back, to a time before cities, before phones, before even language as we know it. Because the answer to why you feel lonely today is hiding about 200,000 years in the past. For most of human history, you didn't live in a city of millions. You lived in a group of about 50 people, maybe 100 at most. This wasn't a choice, it was survival. A small band of early humans, hunting together, sharing food, watching each other's backs against predators, had a far better chance of making it through the week than someone wandering alone. And here's the key thing. Your brain evolved inside that small group. Not inside a city, not inside an office building, not inside a phone screen. Inside a tight circle of familiar faces who you saw literally every single day of your life. Anthropologists have a name for this. It's called Dunbar's number, after the researcher who discovered it. The theory suggests your brain can only comfortably manage relationships with about 150 people at once. Not because you're bad at socializing, but because that's roughly the size of the world your ancestors actually lived in. So when you scroll through hundreds of followers, or sit in a lecture hall with 300 strangers, or ride a subway packed with people you'll never speak to, your ancient brain doesn't register any of that as connection. It registers it as noise. Familiar-looking humans, sure, but not your tribe. And that gap between how many people are physically near you and how many of them your brain actually recognizes as safe, known, mine, that gap is where loneliness lives. Here's something that might surprise you. To your brain, loneliness doesn't just feel bad, it feels dangerous. Researchers have scanned people's brains while they experienced social rejection, and the same regions that light up during physical pain light up during social pain too. Being left out doesn't just hurt emotionally, your brain processes it almost like a physical wound. Why would evolution build you this way? Why would being alone feel like actual pain? Because for most of human history, being alone genuinely was dangerous. If you got separated from your group, if you were the one person wandering the savannah without backup, your odds of survival dropped fast. No one to warn you about a predator, no one to help you find food, no one to keep watch while you slept. So evolution did something clever. It attached an alarm system to isolation, a feeling so uncomfortable that you do almost anything to avoid it and get back to the safety of the group. That ache you feel when you're lonely, it's not a flaw in your programming. It's a survival alarm, one that was incredibly useful 70,000 years ago and is still running today, even though the world around it has completely changed. This is where things get interesting, because the world you live in now looks almost nothing like the one your brain was built for. You're not in a tribe of 50 familiar faces anymore. You might live in a city of 10 million people and still not know your next-door neighbor's name. You might have thousands of online followers and still have no one to call at 2 in the morning. Psychologists call this an evolutionary mismatch, when the environment changes faster than your biology can keep up. Your brain is still running ancient software, built for small tribal life, but you're operating in a completely different world of skyscrapers, social media, and remote jobs. And here's the twist. Technology actually makes this trickier. Scrolling through a feed gives your brain little hits of social information, faces, updates, likes, just enough to feel like connection is happening. But your ancient alarm system isn't fully convinced. Deep down, some part of you still knows the difference between someone liking your photo and someone sitting next to you in silence, just being there. That's why you can have 500 online friends and still feel like nobody would notice if you disappeared for a week. The numbers went up. The tribe never actually got real.
Section 4.
What your brain is actually asking for. So if loneliness isn't really about the number of people around you, what is it about? Researchers who study this closely have found it comes down to something much smaller than a crowd. It comes down to felt safety. Do you have even a handful of people who would show up for you, who actually know what's going on in your life, who you could sit in silence with, and it wouldn't feel awkward? That's the tribe your brain is actually scanning for. Not likes, not followers, not acquaintances at a party. A small circle of people who feel like mine. This is also why some of the loneliest people in the world aren't hermits living alone in the mountains. They're people surrounded by others every single day, in offices, in families, in relationships, who still feel like no one truly sees them. Because your brain isn't counting bodies in the room, it's counting bonds. Section 5. What this means for you. Here's the part that actually matters. If loneliness is an ancient alarm system, not a personal failure, then feeling lonely doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means your 200,000-year-old brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do, telling you that you need your tribe. And the fix isn't more people. It's not a bigger group chat, or more followers, or a louder social calendar. Based on what researchers keep finding, it's the opposite. It's going smaller. A handful of real, known, safe connections does more for that ancient alarm system than 1,000 strangers ever could. So the next time you feel that ache, in a crowded room, in a group chat that never really talks, scrolling through a feed at midnight, try not to read it as something broken in you. Read it as something incredibly old, incredibly human, and still working exactly the way it was built to. Your brain isn't asking for a crowd, it's asking for your tribe. If this made you see loneliness a little differently, that's exactly what this channel is for, figuring out why we're wired the way we are. Subscribe if you want more of these deep dives into human history, evolution, and psychology. See you in the next one.